Hi everyone, it's Jackie here. Just going to give Facebook Live a second to tune in and get my screen up and let you guys know that I'm here. And I just have a wee sip. Everyone says that this mug looks huge in the camera, in the lens, but it's not really. I think it's one of those things, you know, the messages that you get on your side mirrors in a car now. Objects may appear larger than what they seem. I think that's the case with this mug. So, the reason why I've come in today is because we are starting a new series of sessions in the Academy. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to just kind of glaze over what the concept is, because it's a little bit detailed, and perhaps look at any particular areas that we might think could come up as a priority to be addressed. But then of course we know that during these sessions absolutely anything can come up to be addressed for yourself as Academy members, and then also for the collective of the My Incredible Orbit group and all you people who receive these sessions. Now, if you're somebody who's not an Academy member, you can become an Academy member. Anyone can. It just takes that plunge into the abyss where you journey with us for a whole year and receive, you know, very powerful healing sessions every single month, and get a huge library, access to a library that consists of courses and resources, and you get these lovely people to hang out with from all around the world. So let's go ahead. The name of this series, and we do 3 sessions for every single month of the year, and they always follow some kind of a theme or an agenda, is what we call them. And these agendas are usually dictated by everybody's innate wisdoms in the group. Their collective innate wisdom kind of brings forth what they want the agenda to be. So we really just follow everyone's individual innate wisdom in what the agendas are for the session that we're going to be covering. I kind of just don't pluck it out of nowhere and take a wild guess at what we could be doing. That'd be okay too, because it'd be very beneficial still. But I'm really, really focused on just following what comes up as a priority. And it's been quite interesting because the last couple of months we've dived into exploring the consciousness of our body-mind complex, and how that consciousness impacts our reality and what we perceive around us, the experiences that we have, the impact that we get from relationships, the things that keep coming up over and over and over again that we don't realize why. A lot of the time it'll become really apparent in these sessions of why things keep coming up, why we keep having the same experiences, why things occur over and over again, whether it's attracting the same kind of people or having the same kind of situations occur that you don't really like. So this particular month we're exploring, again, it's the consciousness of the whole body-mind complex, and we're specifically diving into this concept of time. Now, the name of the series of sessions, again, it's something that I always ask everybody's group collective innate wisdom, what is the name for the series of sessions going to be? And this one's a bit of a long one, so we have a long name and abbreviated one. The long name is, and it's not just a title, but it's a declaration at the same time. It's intention. And it is, I give permission for my body, mind and spirit to be balanced to time. Now that was interesting to me, because sometimes when we're facilitating a body talk session, it will come up as a priority that some part of the body-mind complex has an issue with or some kind of an aversion to a factor that wants to come up. And you need to balance a person to that factor in order to be able to move on with the session and facilitate the whole session. Also, for the person to be able to have a better relationship with whatever it is, or for us to be able to address whatever the factor is. So my Siri on my phone keeps listening to me. She's a bit sick at the moment. And so that was interesting to me, that the title for our sessions is actually a permissions issue that can come up in a body talk session, and that we are naming it like a permissions statement. So it's, I give permission, and you can do this regardless of whether you're an Academy member or not. And if you want to, if it feels like that this is relevant to you, and you'll feel it somewhere in your body, you'll know. If you feel like this is relevant to you, you can actually say the statement, and as you say the statement, you can go ahead and you can tap it in over your head brain and your heart brain and your gut brain while you take nice big deep breaths. But you've got to slow it down, say it intentionally, yeah? So it's, I give permission for my body, mind and spirit to be balanced to time. And you can say that 3 times over, okay? Everyone has imbalances to time, everyone. So it wouldn't surprise me if just this concept of time that comes up, that you feel that it pushes your buttons a little bit, or you feel that there's something there around time, but you don't really know what it is. Sometimes you don't have to know what it is. Just observing the fact that you have some kind of a reaction that's come up to this concept of time is enough. So you can say the statement, you can really make it a declaration, say it like you mean it, and you are giving your consciousness permission to be balanced to the concept of time. So it means that you have a better experience with time, a healthier relationship with time. Yeah. The short version of this title is, I'm at peace with time. I thought that's kind of nice. That fits really, really well. So there are a couple of things right off the bat that could come up as a priority that I just want to throw out to the table. And then I'm going to kind of leave it and go into talking about something else. The big issues that can come up underneath time, and I'm going to explain a little bit why in a moment, are issues, belief systems, triggers, habits, patterns, behaviors, thought processes, strong emotions towards mortality, enthusiasm, motivation, inspiration, being inspired, driven by desire, so desire driven, and goal orientated actions. So that is what we're basically going to be casting a net over throughout the entire general consciousness of your body mind complex. And also remembering that if some of this information that's causing issues for you is located in a past life, then we need to go there. If it's related to out in the environment somewhere, we need to go there. If it's somewhere in your past, we need to go there. If it is related to ancestral, genetic, epigenetic factors, we need to go there. So this is not just an internal seeking process that we're going through. We're really looking at you as a whole and understanding that you are the sum of everything. So this potentially is going to be very, very powerful, this series of sessions, I feel like. So let's take a step back just to get a little bit of a glimpse as to how this could then be coming up, you know, how our general consciousness could be working and expressing itself regarding, say, mortality or regarding motivation or anything like that. Because ideally you want to have a healthy relationship with mortality a healthy expression of motivation, of inspired, of desired driven, like being desired, right? But more often than not, we don't. They show up in quite a unhealthy / kind of pathological way. And the only real reason why you know that that's there is because it will cause issues in your life. It'll affect your relationships. It'll affect the way that you think about these things. It'll affect the way that you experience the world around you, what you get, what you don't get. It'll also affect your health on all levels. And these can turn into manifestations of diseases and major imbalances in different, parts of the body. So it's really important to be able to address all of these things from a really whole perspective, a holistic perspective, yeah? Right, so let's take a step back for a second. We know that the mind starts to split soon after birth. So the split mind is this concept, and some believe that sometimes the split mind can actually start to split in utero for some people, and that can depend on factors that are going on in the environment, things that are happening to mum and dad, and even major chemical imbalances or vitamin mineral imbalances that are going on. It can be enough that the mind starts to split, and it's this perception and constant reinforcement of I'm separate from you, I'm separate from that, I'm separate from everything, right? That builds throughout a person's life. It happens to pretty much all of us. Ultimately, what it's going to do is it's going to lead to an overemphasis surrounding feelings or issues around time and feelings of guilt. So this month, our journey kind of continues through the consciousness of our body mind and specifically into the general consciousness of time. Now, your left brain linked along with your mind, and the brain and the mind are not the same thing, right? So your left brain linked along with your mind dominates language and speech, which is what we're doing now. It also separates time into past and into future. And you've heard me talking about the series of sessions that we have done before and what we're going to be doing. That's what the left brain is doing. It's able to do that really, really well. And we live in a world where it is normal, in fact, it's actually expected that you make plans. But we make plans about nearly everything in life. All day, every day, plans are made. And the issue with making plans is that there can be far too many, and there can be not enough time being present to the moment or allowing for any spontaneity, let alone a lot of spontaneity. And we are meant to have a lot of spontaneity in our life and a lot of just being present right now to this moment. And what I've found in working with people is that majority of the time for people who do a lot of planning, like everything is planned, days are planned, weeks are planned, but then they make plans within plans, they're constantly in plan, they won't even recognize, they won't realize that their left brain has gone into this process of planning, hyper planning. And it's not until you really draw attention to it and you start to ask yourself, do I make a lot of plans? And then really start to look at that in depth. Maybe thinking back over, the last couple of weeks. And then it starts to become very conscious to you. You start to become aware of what you're doing during your day, and you'll realize, I just made a plan. Oh, I just made another plan. Oh, there's another plan. And then you'll realize, holy cow, I'm consumed by plans. So just having that awareness alone can be enough that it signals that first step of realizing that the left brain has gone into this dominance of planning, right? And so you won't be having the experience of peace in the present moment or spontaneity, which is where there's so much joy and fun and excitement and exploring into the world and who you are and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing. The other issue with plans is that it often drags you into the past and the future, where in order to make these plans or fix your focus on them, because your worth has been built into making plans, right? So we hyper focus on them either in the past or in the future, plans that we have made, and plans that we want to make or we think we need to make, right? And for nearly everybody, what inadvertently happens without you realizing is your worth starts to stack up against these plans and how good you are at planning. What happens when you achieve a plan? So achieving your plan shows you your worth and shows your worth to others. When you achieve a plan, doesn't it show somebody that you're smart, that you're capable, that you're worthy, that you're proficient, that you're able? Yeah? So when plans don't go to plan, what usually surfaces is guilt, shame, a feeling of not fitting in, and biggest of all, actually it's right up there with all of them, one's no more than the other, but one of the things that massively impacts you is that affects your self-worth, and your self-worth plummets because your self-worth is tied up in how well you perform and carry out plans. And your story becomes, I'm weak. Because you see, and this is your internal story, right? This is your subconscious story. I'm weak. Or it can be something else very similar. Because all you see is the flaws and the weaknesses. The plans that didn't carry out. The plans that you didn't make. The plans that you should have made. The goals that you didn't achieve, right? And what happens when we, these aspects of ourselves go for a dive and we go into this perception of weakness or lack of, we then develop masks. And masks are like sub-personalities that we go into. And we develop masks to wear, so we shift into a sub-personality, to hide what we think are our weaknesses. So people can see us in the way that we want them to see us, right? So maybe it's as being good. Maybe you want to be seen as being accepted, being likable, somebody who achieves things, smart, efficient, whatever it is. So the more we feel weak and wear more masks, the more separate then we're actually going to feel from ourselves and the rest of the world. So these masks build separation, and the masks go up without us even realizing it. What we're doing is we're just wrapped up in the experience that we're having, and the mind, very, very untrained, unharnessed, not understood mind, kind of is having free reign with you. Yeah, it's taking you on the journey instead of you doing the journey that you want. So the more that you then feel separate, the more you're going to invest in behaviors and actions that you hope is going to bring you separation that you hope, is going to bring you acceptance, not separation. You hope it's going to bring you acceptance in the future. But it's once you've improved yourselves, right? So separation actually reinforces the dominance of the left brain, and it increases your focus on the future. Your right brain actually is able to see the connections between all events that you've been through at once. So it's very, very good at being able to see the bigger picture. But the right brain, its job is not to make plans. It's not good at making plans. That's your left brain's role. So it's your right brain that actually allows you to be able to experience time very differently, and sometimes actually very dramatically. I don't know if you've ever had experiences or you've been part of events where it would seem that time slows down. And I remember having this in a car accident, when in emergency situations I've had to do CPR quite a lot of times, render assistance at accidents. I've seen accidents happen, lots of different things where it seems like time slows down. Also, same experience of time slowing down during meditation or when using Mindscape. Sometimes participating in some kind of sport where you go into the zone. Now, I remember even doing that when I was horse riding and we were mustering cattle, and one of the big bullocks in the herd of cattle got away. And when they make a break for it, you've got to get them back, otherwise they take the whole herd. Once a few of the herd see this big bullock getting away, they all see freedom and they're like, yep, I'm going with him. So the moment this bullock broke away, me and my horse knew that we needed to go get him and ask him to come back to the herd. But you have to jump on that so fast. So you're off into I was going to say a canter, but you're not even into a canter. You are just bolting for your life to swing out around that bullock and bring him back in. And in that moment, time slows down. You're just in the zone. You're just in that moment. And after you go through that experience and bring the bullock, like you bend the bullock and bring him back into the herd, you can literally feel yourself coming back into this time space, right? So that's really the right brain, and that's also a combination of the right brain and the left brain working really, really well together, because the right brain sees all events and sees the whole picture, and in a snapshot it says, this is happening, if that happens, that's going to happen, that will lead to that. So it goes into cause and effect, right? And then the left brain says, this is a plan. Based on what you've seen, this is a plan. Then you go and action that, yeah? So this going into the zone, as it's often called, is something that people have experienced from time to time. But ultimately, we're designed to experience that way, way more than what we do. Way more than what we do. And luckily, in Body Talk, when you're doing sessions, a lot of the time you are actually in zone. You go into the zone, which is why you don't realise time has just evaporated in that session during that time, yeah? Quite often it's a really big shock to look at your clock and go, wow, 45 minutes has just evaporated just like that. And that's that going into the zone. So, many times during that process, we kind of see time as if it's going in slow motion. And that's because you're not focused on the past or the future, but the whole brain is very present to the moment as its only focus. And it's common when you're in the zone, in this moment, that you'll also experience what we call aha moments, or some people also call them eureka moments. Yeah. And these are moments of sometimes very profound or great insight, and they happen when your right brain is engaged to the point where time can be suspended and bring information together from much wider ranges of experiences and wisdom that you've had. And it's these insights that then help you to be able to grow and have more peaceful and self-accepting experience of you and the world around you. So you just become more accepting, all round more accepting. The right brain allows you, as I said, to be able to see the bigger picture, to be able to understand with clarity why X, Y, and Z needed to happen in order for maybe H to come about, right? It also sees that in order for H to be able to come about, that X, Y, and Z events could have been no other way. H could never have come about if X, Y, and Z never occurred. And this leads to an understanding of cause and effect, which is what I mentioned before. It also leads to understanding that there is a bigger picture process playing out at all times, all the time. And our ability to be present to this moment, planning when it's only needed and allowing for spontaneity to occur naturally, is going to help you to have the happiest and most authentically inspired lives that you can. So one of the things that you can do is when you go to make a plan, or you catch yourself making a plan, just ask yourself, is it really a priority that I make this plan? Does it really matter? What impact is it going to have to my life if I don't do this plan? Is there an opportunity here for me to let it go and just be more spontaneous? So it'd be interesting to see what you notice if you give this a good run for about a week and then come back to me and let me know what you find. I would love to know what your experience has been, whether you find that you realize that you're doing a lot of planning, whether you find that you let go of some plans, whether you find that you are experiencing more of just the present moment, and whether you find that you are enjoying more spontaneity because you're more present, less planning. Yep. And no, you can't plan that on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. you're going to block out an hour of your time to be spontaneous. You can't do that. You can't make a plan to be spontaneous, right? And I know some of you would want to do that. I know you, right? So make a declaration to be totally open to it and ready to shift into it when that feeling comes along. Spontaneity, that is. It's so much fun. When your left brain dominates, because your experience of the moment is the end result, right? So when your left brain dominates, you'll become quite fixated and obsessed about, at times, by time, and either dwell on the past or focus quite heavily on the future. And that quite often is a massive issue with people who are experiencing sadness, depression, anxiety, any kind of anxiousness and stress, right? Not being able to have deep appreciation for this moment. So you'll make plans to achieve future goals. Often these plans are actually just to please other people, and spending so much time focusing on the future is super exhausting. It's so exhausting. And I wonder, for some of you that are having issues with energy right now, whether that's where some of your energy is going. Is the left brain being focused on the future? that it's drawing away from you. And what you're doing is you're constantly having to then motivate yourself to keep hard at work for future benefit. And this belief then begins to surface. I have to motivate myself for future benefit. Starts to surface, and after that, all your planning and working hard to try and achieve your plans and your goals, the idea is that'll bring me happiness, that'll bring me immense peace. I just need to work hard at my plans, got to work hard at the future, because that's where my happiness is, that's where my peace is, right? The thought of all that peace and happiness out there to be gained fast turns into fear. Turns into fear. A fear that what if you don't achieve it all? What if you're not good enough? What if plans don't go to plan? What if you don't achieve everything that you meant to before you die? That's actually one that's really common. That sits in people's subconscious mostly. What if I don't achieve everything that I meant to before I die? That builds fear. Then this festers a fear about our own mortality, a fear about dying without peace and happiness, because what if you don't achieve all your plans and goals? That's where your happiness is, right? By this stage, you've completely shut out the present moment. And the thought of the future stealing your happiness prevents you from truly being free and living life. Your enthusiasm drops, your inspiration seems to dissolve rapidly, and we miss out on the joy of spontaneity big time. So this series of sessions is powerful, and it's very timely because we are hyper-focused. The left brain is hyper-focused on the future right now. And we know that we need these kinds of balancing, this kind of healing now more than ever. So by balancing all levels of your consciousness to time, we're going to be able to address the following aspects with you, and then for the greater kind of My Incredible Orbit Academy members. The ability to easily be present to the moment. And I know some of you have to work really hard at being present to the moment. So how about we can easily be present to the moment? To spark spontaneity in your life effortlessly. Balance the ratio of time spent with work and play. Balance the ratio of time spent with work and family. They're really big ones. How about we grow and foster enthusiasm? That would be cool. Reduce or eliminate the fear associated with mortality. That's bigger than probably what you realize. Reducing nostalgia. So, and this is huge. I hear this all the time. So this is about wishing for a past that seemed easier, or wishing for a version of yourself in the past that you want to see happen now. We're going to be looking at encouraging the re-examination of activities that require motivation. We're going to be focusing on discernment in choosing what activities are inspiring to you. And we're going to reduce the emphasis on future goals and plans and just prioritize the ones that are the most important to you and the most valuable to you, okay? That's the only ones that matter, is the ones that are actually a priority. So ultimately, we're going to be working to reduce worry and anxiety about the past or the future. And this is going to allow you to peacefully experience the present moment and enjoy all that it has to offer you. Happiness is not the next plan that you successfully pull off or goal that you achieve. Your happiness is now, and spontaneity is yours. I was wondering whether I'd ever wrap my tongue around that. Well, so let me say, hey Lisa, good morning. I've been wanting to chat in Mindscape. Oh yes, okay then. So for those of you that have been doing Mindscape, I'm actually going to, probably on Monday, actually set a date for our first Mindscape get together, so that we can, bring up questions for one another. We can talk about our experiences in Mindscape. We can help reinforce the things that we learn in Mindscape, and we can just have a lot of fun and explore different aspects of our Mindscape workshop. So absolutely, unless it's something like urgent, then we could chat privately about that. But if it's kind of just general things, then we're probably better off doing that in the group, because quite often a question that you have is a question that somebody else has as well. So then we don't have to do it more than once. So I'm just going to put a reminder, set date for Mindscape get together. So I'll do that on Monday, and I'll just send the notification out to everybody. Maybe just put into the comments what dates or what times of the day suits you better. Then that might just make it easier in choosing what's right for everybody. Mornings, afternoons, particular days, or that kind of thing. Lisa says, I've been feeling into my patience or impatience of time. Yeah. Action, thoughts, desires, relationships, wants. How interesting. I love that it came up. Yes, here it is. There you go. It's always, and that's one of the things that I absolutely love about just following everybody's innate wisdoms in what the priorities are for this series of sessions. Because quite often, and we've talked about this so much over the years, is that you'll find the series of sessions that we're going to be exploring, the issues that we have around that will start surfacing in the weeks preceding that. So by the time it comes to us discussing, this is what we're going to be doing in the next series of sessions, majority of people are like, oh yeah, I see that, and that came up, and that's been there for me, and it's just so common. Business time frames, that's a good one. How to slow down and surrender. Yeah, that's a very good one. To just be fine with what is. I am fine with what is. What does fine mean to you? I'm at peace with what is. Because quite often we use that word fine when we're covering something up, don't we? It's not a word that we use very authentically, what I mean. So sometimes if we're not doing very well about something, and somebody says to you, how are you, Lisa? You'll go, yeah, I'm fine. But we don't greet each other and go, it's a fine day. And where we genuinely mean, it's a fine day. Or I'm feeling fine. We often use the word fine quite cryptically and not authentically. Would be a twin impact, the mind split. Yes, that's exactly right. Majority of people's minds have split, and some minds have split more than others. Yeah. All of our leaders at the moment, especially in Australia, our leaders have very, very split minds, very pathologically controlled split minds. So, yeah, if you have any questions about anything that I brought up, just let me know. Usually what I do when I go through a introduction to a series of sessions, there's some really obvious parts of the body-mind complex that could come up as a priority, and that's not necessarily the case this month. Like, any part of the body could come up as a priority, as being involved or being affected by this, you know, imbalance with time that we have. There could be specific parts of the brain that need to be addressed, or the 5 senses, or the heart, or the heart meridian, the lungs, or the lung meridian, the pineal in the brain, because the pineal helps keep cycles and regulation, so it does have a relationship to time. But then in theory, every single cell and microbe in the body has some kind of a relationship to time. So really, absolutely any part of us could come up as a priority and needing to be addressed. I'm so looking forward to this next series of sessions. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything that you want to add at all, please pop it into the comments. Don't forget to tag me if you want to, so that I can come back and catch a comment and contribute to it as well. And oh yeah, I've given you a glimpse of, I'm doing some mad clay work and colour mixing with clays at the moment, and you can see it in the background there. It's all good. Alright then guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fab weekend. Our sessions start next week. This month they're on a Thursday. So the first session, and I'm just looking at my other computer screen, is going to be the 17th. The second one is the 24th. The third one is October the 1st. We're doing these at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is Brisbane time. Okay? I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.